We were talking about Reb LAIZER and NANESSRE. Reb LAIZER NANESSRE was a storied CHOSSID, a man of self-sacrifice who suffered in his most productive years, never had his own children, partially due to the fact that he was exiled for 20 years. But we are all his children, we are all his students. When he was a little boy of 5 or 6, he came to see the Rebbe Rashab, the 5th Lubavitcher Rebbe. His father brought him into Yechidus as he was going into 1st grade, and the Rebbe asked him his name, and he said, "My name is Eliezer." So the Rebbe asked him, "Do you know the source of the name?" So he said, "Yes, my father taught me Moshe Rabbeinu named his son Eliezer because Elokei Avi Be'ezri, the God of my father, was with my salvation, Vayatzileni Mecher of Paro, and saved me from the sword of Paro." And the Rebbe said, "Amen, so will it be with you." And he was shaken up by that. But later on in his life, throughout his life, he had miraculous episodes of being saved from the communists, saved by the blessing of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. When he was 18 years old, he had to present himself to the war board because Russia, he was actually 19, but Russia had entered the war against Germany and Austria and conscripted all men of eligible age, and that included yeshiva bachrim. The yeshiva bachrim, of course, hated the Tsar. The Tsar was an anti-Semite, and any Jewish boy that went into the army was sent immediately to the front. And most of them perished the first couple of days. And the Jewish boys knew this and tried to avoid being drafted into the Tsar's army. Reb LAIZER was tall. He was about 5'11", 6 feet. Strong, good-looking, healthy. All the boys tried to find an excuse why they couldn't join the army. Some feigned that they had heart problems. Others actually mangled their feet to cause them to walk improperly. Rav Ben Zion Shem Tov Alav HaShalom mangled his toes, and from that time on could not walk properly, and he had to have these special shoes, because otherwise he would have been taken to the Tsar's army and most likely would have been done away with. Some of them feigned being of poor eyesight, wearing thick glasses. Different boys claimed different things, different ailments. There was one boy in Lubavitch even who had a killer. He had a hernia. And his hernia was very, very visible. He was skinny, and his hernia was visible to the point where he couldn't lift anything at all. That's how painful it was. And he would go. They used to call him the angel. Why would they call him the angel? Because he would go in place of other boys, risking his life. Nobody should recognize him from one place to the other. And he would go in the boy's stead, and when they come examining him that he had this terrible hernia, they would say, not fit for military service. Now it was LAIZER's turn. Where should he go? What should he say? So he went to the Lubavitcher Rebbe, the Rebbe Rashab, and he says, "Rebbe, what do I do?" So the Rebbe says, "LAIZER, I think you can go and nothing's going to happen to you." doesn't have any counsel, just go home, go in front of the board. How is it possible that they won't take him? He's tall. For that time, he was a giant. He was handsome, well-built, slim, broad-shouldered, with bright eyes and an engaging smile. It was impossible that he shouldn't be drafted. But the Rebbe said go. So he went, and while he was on the line, he noticed everybody was taking their clothes off. He took off his clothes. But then he decided, why should he stay without a talis cotton? If the doctor wants to hear his heart, he'll hear his heart under the talis cotton. So he's standing there with 200-300 boys. They're all naked, and he's in his talis cotton. In walks this little officer, and he looks over all the boys, and he's smiling, and he looks at LAIZER with his beard and with his talis cotton and says, You're crazy. I don't want you. Get out of here. Get out of here and don't come back. So he picked up his clothing, picked up his things, started getting dressed, and as he's leaving, the officer who entered him into the list asked him, where are you going? He says, well, that guy said I should leave. He says, why did he say that? He says, instead of saying you're crazy, he said, I don't know. He says, well, I don't know either. You go back there. So now he thought, I missed my chance. The Rebbe said I would go out without any problems, and here was my opportunity, and I didn't take it. So he goes back online, and he's getting checked out in his talis cotton again. When suddenly that same officer comes back, he says, you again? I thought I told you to get out of here. We don't need people like you in the army. You're crazy. And he never had to serve. Healthy, strong, tall, with his wits, with his charm. A bracha from a Rebbe.